Your voice, your opinion, your community. Fact TV, free speech, protected.
Did you go to prom?
No.
Was it because this movie scared you?
Nope.
I went to junior prom.
And your date was scarier than this movie.
At least I went. All this and more on Gory Storytime.
Warning. Gory Storytime is a horror movie review show by a son and his dad who thought that letting his 5-year-old watch scary movies was acceptable. If you are offended by horror or talk about blood and gore by a child, or if you don't want horror movies from the 60s through today spoiled, then there is a remote stuck in your couch cushion next to potato chip crumbs. Use it. And of course, parental discretion is advised.
Why? You didn't use any.
Shut up and start the show.
Welcome to Gory Storytime. I'm your host, Jason.
I'm his co-host and his father, Craig. And this week, we're doing the classic 1980 movie, Prom Night. There's been 4 of these, I think, counting the remake. Something like that.
Yeah.
And we'll get into it later. One of the facts is the connection between all of them. And it's tangential, I will say.
At best.
Yeah. Anyway, so here's the basic premise. A group of older kids that are supposed to be about 12, they said, were bullying a little girl who was 6, kind of huddled her towards an open window, and out of fear, she stepped up on the window ledge and ended up falling out, dying, and they decided that they were going to keep it a secret as to how she fell. Smash cut to 6 years later. They're at their senior prom, and they're getting messages from someone saying, I know what you did, except it wasn't last summer. It was 6 years ago.
6 years ago, yeah.
And it's very similar in premise, only this was way prior to that movie.
It was.
That premise has been done a few times. There's a book by Christopher Pike that had that, where someone died accidentally, and the people behind it that were covering it up were getting letters.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's been done multiple times.
And it'll be done forever.
I mean, as long as it's done well, who cares, right?
Right. So, yeah, that's a good explanation of the movie.
But that's basically it.
Yes.
Without spoiling anything, because it doesn't really spoil anything that the girl dies at the beginning, because that sets off the plot.
It's the whole rest of the movie that matters because of it.
Anything else before we show them the trailer, then?
No.
Then why don't we roll that trailer?
Oh.
Ooh.
There's a special night in the lives of all of us. A night to be beautiful, to be desirable. A night we can break all the rules and make our own. Prom Night. Everyone at Hamilton High is getting ready for Prom Night. It's a day of rehearsals, arrangements, final preparations, and last-minute phone calls.
Nick? Wendy, do you still like to play games?
They're too old for games, but someone still wants to play.
Kelly. It's been a long time. Tonight, it's my turn. Everything is on.
Tonight, someone has come to the prom alone. Someone who watches in the silent corridors.
Kelly. Help!
Someone who waits until no one can help. Prom night. If you're not back by midnight, you won't be coming home.
Well, all right. That was actually a decent trailer that didn't
Didn't
give
show
away
much.
a bunch of stuff.
It had no reason to be red band,
Well,
so
anyway, yeah, he picks out the trailers, and then I see the red band, and I'm like, then we have to rate it different. But no problem. All
Yep.
right. Now, before we get into the behind the scenes, what we need to do is explain that what we're really here for is to make money. And how do you do that when you do a show for free? Simple. Very simple. You sell yourself out like a prostitute.
yes.
Right?
Yes.
And this time we sold ourselves to these two companies who are paying us giant checks. Actually, it's just, you know, the coin in Batman's
Yeah.
Batcave? He's paying us in double-headed giant Two-Face dimes.
Oh. That'd be worth some money, I would think. I would think that.
Anyway, this week, Gory Storytime is brought to you by The World's Best Soundalikes. The World's Best Soundalikes is a 4 CD set of songs made to sound close to popular hits, but just different enough that no one can sue you over its use in your project. If you liked Good Vibrations by the Beach Boys, you might enjoy Vibe Check by the Surf Dudes. Maybe if you like hip-hop songs like You Can't Touch This, by MC Hammer, you could listen to Hey, Don't Grab Those by MC Stapler instead. The World's Best Soundalikes, because if you don't know music, it at least sounds like it is.
Yeah.
And
by Fiction versus
you all right?
Yeah. Fiction versus Reality, The Prom. The first in a series of books that break down the differences between what television and movies show versus the reality for most people. Some examples are in movies and on TV. Everyone plans on losing their V card at the prom. In reality, the boys slow dance poorly and try to feel up their date so later they can use that memory while they shower. Or how about the old "we hate this awkward girl and, as a joke, voted her prom queen so we can dump pig's blood on her head"? Truthfully, it almost never happens. Fiction versus Reality, The Prom. A book almost entirely about violence and hormones.
All right. Well, you know what you're getting.
Okay.
All right. So anything else we need to say before we get into the behind-the-scenes information?
I mean, it's from 1980. If you haven't seen it by now and we're spoiling it for you, that's probably
None
your
of the
fault.
facts bring it up, but Leslie Nielsen's in it in a series. It was the same year that he was in Airplane, and that was the one that really
Took off for his comedy stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So if you want to see him in a serious role before he became known as like the king of like spoof comedy in the 80s.
Oh, yeah.
And into the 90s, this is him in a serious role.
Yes.
You want to go first?
Sure. Director Paul Lynch said in going...
Oh, wait. We missed something.
Oh, yeah.
We have to get into the meat and beef of the show because he
Or
meant to
as
say...
I like to call it, the meat and beef
There we
of
go.
the
Good
show.
enough.
Okay, yeah, okay. Yeah, potatoes are bad. Okay. Director Paul Lynch said in Going to Pieces, The Rise and Fall of the Slasher Film, he was having difficulty securing financing until Jamie Lee Curtis signed on.
Once the film was shot, Paramount expressed interest in distributing the movie, but they only wanted to open in 300 theaters, whereas Avco Embassy Pictures offered to put it in 1,200 theaters. Avco Embassy released Prom Night as a result.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
Gene Siskel called this a watered-down version of Halloween crossed with Carrie. Another critic called it a combination of Friday the 13th and Saturday Night Fever.
Which is weird because it was released the same year as Friday the 13th, so it probably wasn't influenced by Halloween, maybe, but not. Anyway, you said that. Director Paul Lynch originally conceived a movie about a psychotic gynecologist to cash in on Halloween, but after being told such a movie would be distasteful, retooled it into this. So this started as a movie that was about a
psychotic
murdering
gyno.
Guy. Yeah, nice, huh?
I wonder how much of this was that bleeding through, because that bothers me to think about.
Anyway.
Jamie Lee Curtis and Casey Stevens, who play an on-screen couple in the film, briefly dated during production.
The original version of this film was given a PG rating, but the studio was afraid no one would go see a PG slasher movie, so they upped the violence to get it an R rating. You always hear about, it was going to be unrated and less theaters would carry it, so they cut out stuff for an R. These guys went back in, added cussing and blood to get the R.
Eve Plum originally auditioned for the role of Kim Hammond.
Robert A. Silverman had just been in a serious accident and was undergoing speech therapy before acting in this movie. He came up with the idea to put tape on his glasses. I don't know what that has to do with it, but...
Okay. Producer Peter R. Simpson's son, Brock Simpson, plays young Nick. Brock is the only actor who appeared in all 4 Prom Night movies.
Interesting. Composer Paul Zaza wrote all the disco songs in 5 days. According to him, the prom scene was shot with actual disco hits that the production company could not afford the rights to. So they had him create similar original disco songs that were close, but not so close they could get sued.
We noticed this at the time.
I was like, that sounds like Staying Alive, but it wasn't.
Nope. It was Love Me Till I Die.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Jamie Lee Curtis did her own stunts.
I mean, that's cool. Hamilton High School is the one setting that all Prom Night movies have in common. That's the connection between them. Each one's its own story.
According to the Blu-ray commentary by Paul Lynch, the van that goes off the cliff in the movie was actually stolen by the stunt coordinator.
Before they put it on film or after filming? See, that makes a big difference to me. Prom Night was filmed over 24 days in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, from August 7th to September 13th, 1979. The Don Mills Collegiate Institute served as the main location, while the Langstaff Jail Farm in Richmond Hill was used for the abandoned building in the movie's beginning.
Yep. Casey Stevens would only go do one more film after this one, Threshold. He tragically died of AIDS-related illness in '94 as his acting career was beginning to take off.
One of the few movies to show an actual telephone number. I'm not going to actually read it here, but it's in the movie instead of a fictional 555. And as of 2021, the number was still functioning. It was the fax number for Grandview Heights, Ohio Parks and Rec Department.
Huh.
Mm-hmm.
The official soundtrack CD for this film was released in June 2019, nearly 40 years after the film itself.
Yeah. I mean, 39 is pretty nearly 40. The subplot about Leonard Murch was added late in the production of the movie.
The line, "It's not who you come with, it's who takes you home," appears in all 4 Prom Night movies.
And one of the taglines, I think we might want to do this if there's ridiculous ones once in a while. One of them was pretty convoluted. "These are the girls of Hamilton High. Tonight, they will be more beautiful than ever before in their lives, because tonight is prom night, and someone has come to the prom alone, just to watch them dance, to see them fall in love, to see them die." Like,
that
a tagline
was
should
one
be
tagline.
a line. It shouldn't be a chapter.
It's a lot. All right.
Alrighty, now...
Rotten Tomatoes exists.
Yes, and on Rotten Tomatoes, as we say every week, what they try to do is they take the critics, the professional critics, and break it down to where did they give it a positive or negative review, and then they tell you the percent of positive reviews that they have found.
Yes.
And the people also get a chance to do that by voting positive or negative, and they do the same thing. So, what percentage of the critics gave it a positive review?
48.
That is low. That is not fresh. It is rotten, rotten, rotten. The people usually have things higher than the critics, but in this case, 34. Apparently, the people did not care for this, even though between this and Halloween, it's why they called Jamie Lee Curtis a Scream Queen. She was like the first big Scream Queen.
Yeah.
And it's weird that, like, I have my own opinions about the scores, and we'll get to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had fun doing this, so let's go with our least favorite things.
All right. So I'm just going to do what I originally had planned to say here, and I'm going to caveat it with it's my fault that I was never bullied, all right, so that I don't understand what they were going for in this movie. But in the beginning of the movie, when the kids are bullying this girl, what he left out was she chose to go and hang out with these people, or did hang out with these people.
Her older sister was one of them, and she was dragged along against her will. Go.
Never said that.
Showed that.
Didn't show that.
Showed that.
I've never been bullied out a window, all right? They didn't touch her. They, like, nothing actually was being done to her. And then to walk away from them saying a word over and over again, she hucked herself out the window.
She didn't huck herself out. She fell because she was trying to back away from them, took a step up, and then fell backwards.
I've never been bullied out a window.
No, most people haven't. But
I
doesn't
saw that and thought it
understand
was completely unrealistic.
when you're 6 years old and like a half a dozen 12-year-olds circle you and like are coming closer and closer, you feel like you're going to get hurt really bad, and your instinct is to back up. I'm just saying. I had this discussion with him while we were watching it. He's like, it doesn't make sense. And I'm like, you weren't bullied because I made him unbullyable. Him and his brother.
I saw that and it seemed
I said such horrible
completely
things to him that when
out of
people
place.
called him stupid or ugly, he was like, my dad says that because I was born in 2001, it was the worst thing to happen in America. If he says that and he loves me, stupid doesn't hurt my feelings. Like, I made you guys unbullyable because I would high five when they would come back with something smart ass at me. As long as it was funny. Every time, did I not?
Yes. So
I
the
never
point
got mad.
really
So he couldn't be
was it didn't make sense to me. Now maybe that's because
My-
I wasn't bullied, but it just
My
didn't make
least
sense.
favorite thing was there's a scene where a curly-haired guy in a van is just done having some love with his lady friend, and it was just so dumb. Like, they had just made love, and then the door was left unlocked, which is something you would do out when you don't want to be caught making love, is you leave your door to your van unlocked so someone could like open it and just like start stabbing his date. And then he tries to get away, and the guy runs and like jumps in because the door is open, because it made no sense. The acting was awful in that scene. The blood was really unrealistic. It looked like red paint more than anything.
The killer like hopped up like a couple times and like stabbed her in the neck.
Yeah, and then it cuts to a wound that doesn't match the stabbing he was just doing from another angle. It has to do with them going back and adding gore, I guarantee it, because it didn't line up. The acting was bad. The gore was unrealistic. It was just a bad scene.
Yes. So my favorite thing is, probably that they didn't go with the twist I expected of somehow she didn't die and it was her getting revenge.
Okay.
Like, even though every chance they got, they made sure we knew it was a dude behind the scenes, that didn't mean anything because so was Mrs. Voorhees.
Right, until the reveal. Yeah.
So, like,
No?
I'm just glad they didn't go with that because it would have made even less sense with this. It wasn't
Okay.
supernatural. There was no ghost aspect. It was just...
It was, well, we're not going to say.
It was
We don't wanna spoil
a killer.
Yeah. It was a killer who knew about what happened
they did
and
that summer.
got revenge.
Yes.
All right, my favorite scene. Okay, there was this kill in a van with this curly-haired, heavy-set dude and his girlfriend. It was hilarious. Like, the acting was awful, but you couldn't stop laughing. The gore was over the top and fake looking. And I mean, the entire thing, like the guy's hopping up and down to stab, and then it cuts and it shows like a wide open wound that just doesn't, it should be like
Probably
a bunch
has
of
something
slashes.
to do with them having to add the violence afterwards.
Yeah, like the entire thing was hilarious. I was laughing the whole time. Yes, that does sound familiar to you. That's because it was my least favorite for good quality filmmaking, but it was my favorite because it was so damn fun.
It was stupid.
What was your favorite scene? Or wait, you did yours.
I just did mine.
Yeah. What am I
Yes.
doing? Okay, on a scale of 1 to 10.
So, I'm going to go 5.5.
Okay. I mean, I think 5.5 is fair.
Like, this is a
That said,
terrible movie.
I usually say it's a 7 or more if I'm going to go back. I will go back to this
I might go back to
because
this.
it was fun. It was awful.
The
acting
story was bad, the acting was bad, the gore, everything was terrible. Nothing was
and
good in this
I
movie.
love it. But we are also
Like,
fans of Killer Clowns and Attack
It's
of the
like,
Killer
I
Tomatoes.
don't know...
So, like,
I don't know what in this
Toxic
movie
Avenger.
made them think, Jamie Lee Curtis, Scream Queen. Maybe in Halloween. I'll give it to
Sure.
you for that. But
Sure.
this movie was just terrible.
I mean,
what
she-
made people look at this
She
and
used
think...
an axe to hit a guy in the head like a bat.
She did.
And
With the
didn't-
axe.
But not the sharp part.
Right.
Right. And this movie is gloriously awful.
It's stupid.
The
It's
first
wrong.
words out of his mouth were, "That was stupid. I loved it."
Yeah.
So 5.5 is fair for what it is, but I will watch this again in the future.
I mean,
because
just when we go
it's-
through and watch the rest of them.
It's so good.
Yeah. So, all the stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can watch this show on Chact VT. Yeah. Facts TV on channel 1082.
Chat GPT?
Yeah. Thursdays at 8:30 p.m. and Fridays at 7 p.m.
All right. You can like us on Facebook. And when I say us, I mean Fact TV and Gory Storytime both have pages. Give a like, follow, whatever. Enjoy.
Yeah. You can go to fact8.com, watch a bunch of back episodes of this, as well as many other things.
And you can follow us on X. X gonna give it to you. I'm at Craig Jakes, all one word, all lowercase, and I rarely tweet, and it's never about horror movies. So, like, if you think you're gonna interact with me about this, that's not the way to do it.
Yeah, basically. And I'm at Chiggly Firm Brain. I only tweet things that he says that I find funny in and out of context, mostly out of context.
He has to copy and paste a bunch of them so he can then replace them with new tweets because they fall off and you can't get back to them. It's weird.
Yeah. So, you know,
All right.
go make me famous.
Yeah, that. Anything else? No?
No.
All right. So,
Until next time, I've been your host, Jason.
or wait. Go to YouTube, type in Gory Storytime, the two pages that come up with Fact TV and Gory Storytime. Like, subscribe, follow, notification bell, comment, all the good stuff that
And
you can
I've
do
been
on
your
YouTube.
host, Jason.
I'm his co-host and father, Craig, and
Sweet dreams.